Ancient Egypt, one of the greatest civilizations on Earth, lasting for 3,000 years. The ancient Egyptians developed a unique writing system using pictures and symbols, worshipped extraordinary gods, and built two of the seven wonders of the ancient world. The first wonder is the Great Pyramids of Giza, structures that have endured for over 4,500 years. The second wonder is the Lighthouse of Alexandria, also known as the Pharos. Of the seven ancient wonders, only the pyramids remain standing today. But that's not all ancient Egypt left behind for humanity. Many of their greatest achievements have been buried beneath desert sand and the waters of the Nile. Until now, with the most advanced imaging technology capable of penetrating sea and sand, transforming accurate data into 3D images, scientists are now decoding ancient mysteries. The legendary Alexandria Lighthouse, a mysterious fleet of boats, buried 6 miles from the Nile, and a chain of massive fortresses along ancient Egypt's southern border. The Alexandria Lighthouse, restoring a world wonder. The Alexandria Lighthouse, built in the 3rd century BCE, was an architectural and technological masterpiece of its age. It was the iconic structure of Alexandria, the new capital founded by Alexander the Great after conquering ancient Egypt. Alexandria was everything. You might think of the Champs-Élysées in Paris or Times Square in New York. Alexandria was all those things and more. It was the most beautiful city the world had ever seen, explains one expert. Egypt's new rulers wanted the pharaohs to send a simple but powerful message. They wanted to show how powerful the city was. So you needed a symbol, a huge banner, saying, "Welcome to Alexandria." The Pharos was primarily created as a landmark, archaeologist Ahmad explains. But as Egypt's power declined, Alexandria's lighthouse gradually deteriorated. The land beneath it slowly sank into the sea, and in the 14th century, after being devastated by an earthquake, it completely collapsed. The Pharaohs is thought to be buried under 23 feet of water at the entrance of Alexandria harbor. Now, a French archaeological team is trying to rediscover its magnificence. Using the most advanced underwater imaging technology, they're searching for clues on the seabed. The goal is to rebuild this missing wonder as accurately as possible. Leading the investigation is architect and archaeologist Isabel Harry. She has been searching for the truth about the Alexandria Lighthouse for more than 20 years. Isabel's team is working at one of the largest underwater archaeological sites in the world. They're exploring mysterious granite blocks, remarkable remains clearly made by humans. After 28 weeks of diving and with 50,000 photographs, Isabel has the data needed to finally unveil the secrets of the pharaohs. Combining this unique data with modern computer graphics means that for the first time, the waters around Alexandria harbor can be drained for exploration. As the Mediterranean begins to drain, surprising shapes appear. Nearly 3,000 granite blocks scattered across more than 1 hectare of seabed. These are not natural rock formations, but clearly the work of human hands. Statue bases, pillar fragments, all from a structure of enormous size, the sunken remains of a true ancient wonder, the Pharos Lighthouse. Brought back to light for the first time in 600 years, the most significant discovery is a gigantic door frame, an architectural detail that allows Isabel to precisely determine the lighthouse's dimensions. The door frame pieces fit together perfectly, forming an entrance 41 feet high and weighing more than 200 tons. Combining all the underwater evidence with historical descriptions from medieval travelers like Al-Balawi and Ibn Battuta, Isabel has solved a centuries-old puzzle. The lighthouse had 3 towers, matching the design of the mosque at the present-day Qaitbay fortress, a square tower at the bottom, an octagonal one in the middle, and a circular one at the top. Believed to be clad in limestone, the pharaohs reached nearly 330 feet in height, equivalent to a 32-story building, making it one of the tallest structures in the ancient world. And all of it is thought to have been crowned by a wonder of ancient technology, a system of iron lights and mirrors reflecting light and Egypt's glory to the outside world. It might have looked like the first skyscrapers built in Chicago at the end of the 19th century. It was truly an amazing structure, Isabel shares. The mysterious Abydos boats. 6 miles from the western bank of the Nile, draining not water but sand, has revealed an ancient mystery called the Abydos boats. It was completely unexpected to find a phantom flotilla in the middle of nowhere. Comments an archaeologist, Egyptologist Matthew Adams has been excavating the mysterious boats of Abydos for 30 years. No one would know that beneath this flat desert patch lies one of the most extraordinary discoveries ever made in Egyptian archaeology, Matthew says. The boats he excavated have been reburied in the sand to help preserve them for the future. Before that, they had been lying peacefully underground for 5,000 years. Abydos sits on a desert plateau beyond the Nile's influence. So if it wasn't the Nile that brought these boats here, what did? To find out, Matthew's team surveyed the location of the boats and the surrounding terrain. Accurate satellite mapping can reveal the extraordinary world beneath. Combining this data with the latest computer imaging technology allows the Egyptian desert to be drained of sand, grain by grain, to solve an ancient mystery. The desert begins to reveal its secrets. Not one boat, not two, but 14. The wooden fragments suggest they were 60 feet long, all carefully lined up in parallel. This is the oldest buried fleet ever discovered, but whom do they belong to? Recreating the boats immediately reveals a clue. These are not simple dugout canoes or reed boats. They are substantial rowing vessels with space for up to 30 oarsmen. What's even more revealing is how they're made from carefully crafted wooden planks, all sewn together with rope. These are the earliest plank boats we have in this region. As status symbols, they're important, an expert explains. 1,000 years ago, this was cutting-edge nautical technology. It's almost like taking a sports car today and burying it somewhere in the desert, another archaeologist compares. And in ancient Egypt, only one person could afford such a massive investment: the pharaoh. To understand the mystery of the Abydos boats, Matthew looks for clues above the sand. Next to the buried fleet stands a huge mud brick ruin. Here, Matthew finds evidence of an ancient belief system that might help explain this desert secret. Excavations here uncovered ancient pots that once contained food and beer. Ceremonies took place here, focused on this king as a divine figure. Somehow these boats are part of this religious expression and are connected with the activities of these early kings, Matthew explains. This enclosure was built for the ancient Egyptians to worship their pharaoh as a god, dating back to around 700 BCE, 200 years before the Great Pyramids, and more than 1,000 years before Tutankhamun. A closer examination of the sand-drained boats reveals the answer. Around each one is a strange mud brick casing. The brick walls follow the curves of the boats, completely covering them from stern to bow. Each shell entirely encloses a boat, and all are covered with a layer of white plaster, creating 14 boat tombs. When the boats were newly placed, you wouldn't have seen the wooden boat hulls, but these brick grave structures, Matthew notes. This plaster would have caught the sunlight when first built, making them glow in the desert, adds John, another researcher. Like the offerings provided to the king inside the monument, bread, beer, and wine, the boats must represent some kind of offering for the king. The entire royal fleet is there to serve the pharaoh in the afterlife, so he can navigate the celestial Nile throughout eternity. Just a mile away, archaeologists found the underground tomb of one of Egypt's earliest pharaohs. the beginning of a tradition that would eventually create the Valley of the Kings. Using magnetometry surveys that detect variations in the soil's magnetic field, they discovered an entire landscape designed for resurrection. Ancient Egypt's original city of the dead, with at least 10 royal tombs filling the valley floor. The border fortresses along the Nile. For over 50 years, ancient Egypt's lost fortresses have been underwater in Lake Nasser, their exact purpose a mystery to archaeologists. Viewing them on the lakebed is impossible, as sediment makes the waters impenetrable to cameras, and diving there can be fatal. Archaeologist Laurel Bestock is investigating Fort Uranati, one of the last surviving strongpoints from ancient Egypt's southern frontier. I had thought I would never be able to see, let alone study personally, such a place. That I could potentially come here was really a personally profound and career-changing discovery, Laurel explains. Fort Uranati was built around 1850 BCE, during the period known as the Middle Kingdom. It stands 200 miles south of ancient Egyptian territory, in what was once no man's land. This represents the edge of the known world to the Egyptians. Egypt lies behind me along the Nile. That's the familiar world, the world where Egyptians felt at home. Out there is the rest of ancient Africa, and that's very much a place the Egyptians viewed as threatening, where they considered both the people and even the landscape as a threat to their order, Laurel explains. Beyond Egypt was the land of Nubia and the Kushite kingdom. Their fearsome warriors attacked Egypt from the south, so the pharaohs needed to protect their territory. Clues about how they did this can be found at Uranati. Uranati was really built for defense. It's hard to imagine a space that would be more difficult to attack, Laurel says. You come up this steep hill and you're met with this massive fortified gateway. The walls are reinforced with wooden beams that act like rebar in reinforced concrete. Most of that military machine now lies beneath Lake Nasser, one of the largest reservoirs in the world. The fortresses were lost forever when Egypt built the Aswan High Dam in the 1960s. Before they disappeared, an archaeological salvage operation documented them extensively. Using archaeological data and the latest computer graphic technology, it's possible to drain the waters from Lake Nasser. When 44 trillion gallons of water flow back into the Nile, a 4,000-year-old world is slowly revealed. Moving south beyond ancient Egypt, Fort Icon appears. Then Fort Askut. Further south are two more, Fort Kuma and Semna. Altogether, a total of 15 fortresses, stretching 200 miles. This is the longest fortified border in the world, along this strategically important stretch of the Nile. Because the Nile River was the main thoroughfare going upriver, the fortresses were arranged from north to south, stopping any invasion from the south into the north, an expert explains. When the water fully drains, the largest fort, Buhan, is revealed. Using 3D computer graphics and archaeological data, Fort Buhan is reconstructed, showing the nerve center of ancient Egypt's frontier. Its vast footprint covers an area 20 times larger than Fort Uranati. The perimeter wall extends nearly a mile, with 36-foot-high walls dominating the riverfront. 3,000 years before European castles were built, Fort Buhan had advanced military features including a dry moat, a fortified gateway, defensive battlements, and sophisticated arrow loops with a 180-degree firing arc. Despite their impressive defenses, these forts saw little actual combat. Archaeologists believe they served another purpose. Deep inside Fort Buhan was a complex of enormous silos for storing grain. The size of those granaries means they could hold much more food than necessary for the number of people living at Buhan, and that's an important clue for us regarding the economic activity taking place, an archaeologist explains. Egypt was trading grain for gold. The fortresses not only dominated ancient Egypt's southern neighbors, but also guarded the trade routes from Nubia's gold mines. To the Egyptians, gold was everything, and Nubia was the main source. The pharaohs and their wealthiest subjects wore gold and covered their coffins with it as the ultimate symbol of power. Building the fortresses was an attempt to impose a trading monopoly on gold coming from the south, and to ensure that this all happened through the Egyptian state, a specialist comments. At full capacity, the entire fortress system could house 10,000 soldiers, scribes, and officials. Operating such an advanced frontier was a feat comparable to building the Great Pyramids, a testament to Egypt's organizational and military prowess. By the 1st century BCE, the ancient Egyptians were gone, but the mysteries they left behind beneath the Nile Valley are permanent reminders of their extraordinary culture. The legacy of ancient Egypt lives on, their architectural treasures, remarkable beliefs, formidable state power, and their golden voyages between the worlds of the living and the dead. Through modern technology, we can now see through the secrets of one of humanity's greatest civilizations, unlocking stories that have remained hidden for millennia beneath sand and water.